They've got some things to talk about and tell you about Bob Hogan, and I'm going to turn it over to those guys right now. Greg? Oh, they're going to argue who gets to talk first.
Let me stand behind this thing so they can't see my stomach. I'm not real good at speeches, but Bob Hogan is one of my lifelong friends, so I figured I got to do my best here. So Hogan, as we used to call him, the Hog. I forgot what the hell I was going to say.
This is why I don't like to give speeches.
I remember. Now that I see the mayor, thank you to the mayor, to Steve, and to Lisa for all their hard work in putting this together. It's really nice. You know, when we were a kid, as surfers, we were thought of more like the plague or a disease, and the cops would like to eradicate us or discover some new penicillin that would make us go away. But anyway, Bob Hogan, when I grew up at the Manhattan Pier, I started surfing with Bing Copeland. I was 11 and Bing was 12. And there was two really good surfers at the pier. One was Dale Valsey, and the other one was Bob Hogan. And Valsey was, for the most part, was out driving hot rods and chasing good-looking girls, which left Bing and I and Hogan in the water most of the time. You could go down there on rainy days or stormy days or good surf, and the three of us would generally be spending our time in the water as much as possible. As time went by, Bob took on the lifeguard service and was working for the lifeguard service. I started going to the islands, and I remember coming back one year, and Bob was all excited about telling me about this place called Lunada Bay. And he said, oh, they got some big waves up there. I didn't believe it. I had just gotten through surfing the North Shore, and so there was a good north swell on, and we went up there, and I was really surprised. And so Bob Hogan was the first guy to ride and discover Lunada Bay. He spent most of the winter surfing it by himself because nobody to go out on the bigger swells. So the guy can surf small waves, big waves. He did it all. He was also single-handedly instrumental for putting together the Manhattan Beach to Catalina race, which is still going strong today, and I think that's a pretty neat accomplishment right there. The Hog gives new meaning to being an individual. He did things on his own terms. As he was working for the lifeguard service, he told me, I'm going to build a boat in my backyard. And I thought, okay. Well, 3 or 4 years went by, and he invited Bing and I to come up and watch him haul this boat out of his backyard. There was a 1/4 of an inch clearance between the two houses. It was just the planning and dedication that went into building this beautiful boat was unreal. So he piled his family. He had kids by then. He piled his family on the boat and all his possessions and took off, and we didn't see him for 3 or 4 years. He sailed the entire South Pacific, giving his kids a home education that was probably better than the ones they get in a local school. So he's an incredible individual, and and he's been an incredible friend over the years. I forgot to mention too that he's a really good artist. Does the most beautiful ocean paintings you've ever seen. So with that, I don't know what the hell else I can say about you, man, other than I love you, and he's a good man. And I would like to say one thing for a friend of mine. He's too shy to submit his accomplishments, but there's a guy by the name of Wally Milliken who spent 20 years surfing right here and influencing a lot of kids. I think Chris Bredesen, who used to be on my surf team, God, now he's got kids winning contests. Makes me feel like a dinosaur. But Chris would agree, and a lot of other people would, that Wally deserves some consideration. So anyway, Hog, keep up the great work. Just get out of bed in the morning and you're doing good.
Greg Knoll's hard act to follow, so here I go. I'm Don McPhearson, In 1962, we moved next door to the Hogans in Manhattan Beach. I first met Bob when screaming obscenities. He leapt over the fence and frantically started wiping down my old rusty VW Bug. And I kind of treated him gingerly. I asked the problem. And Bob built a 32-foot catch in the backyard, and spray from bottom painting had drifted over and gotten on the car. And the color matched the rust, so it was okay with me. I didn't care. Being a young aerospace engineer from Ohio, I didn't know what to make of Bob. In 1963, he teamed on the winner of the National Lifeguard Championships, and eventually got his name on the Taplin Trophy 7 times for first place finishes, which is an incredible accomplishment. He eased me into his, well, okay, for a Midwesterner like me, he was an alien. I'd never met anybody like him before. He eased me into his world by having me crew with him and Carol ocean racing a 46-foot wooden boat. On one race around San Nicolas Island, we sailed into a ferocious storm. Daybreak found us in real trouble. Huge waves pounded the island in our lee, a quarter mile or half a mile away. The boat had sprung a big leak, which we really struggled to pump. Gear broke without let up, and frankly, I expected to die. I really did. The skipper, Doc Levin, wore a walking cast because he had a broken ankle. And if we went into the water, Bob vowed to take Doc through that horrendous surf. I'd become a basket case. I was scared to death. But Bob, all he thought of was Doc. And that motivated me to keep the boat afloat. And I pumped my butt off for 70 miles back to LA Harbor. In 1967, Bob launched the Ketch Discovery. And with Carol and the kids, sailed away to the South Seas. Along the way, he surfed Baja, Mexico, Central America, the Galapagos, Easter Island, Tahiti, and the Marquesas. Finishing up in Hawaii, he surfed all those islands from one end to the other. During their 3 decades in Hawaii, Bob operated a shipwright's shop while portraying his special world as a commercial artist in painting and wood carving. It was one of his more incredible accomplishments in my mind. And I have an example here. This is Humphrey, the humpback whale, and I'm lucky to be his caretaker. To this day, Bob has maintained his active lifestyle. In 1981, at age 50, he, with Carol and me, bicycled across the United States, from Portland to Boston, Massachusetts. Shortly afterwards, he and Carol competed in the Hawaii Ironman, the granddaddy of all triathlons. They did that twice, and they participated in other triathlons through the island. For nearly a half a century, Bob raced paddleboards. In 1955, as you've been told, he founded the Catalina Classic, 32 miles from Two Harbors, Catalina, to the Manhattan Pier, for which the Manhattan Beach Chamber of Commerce awarded him their annual Rose and Scroll, an award for outstanding civic accomplishment. It's amazing that a surfer can do that. 40 years later, in 1995, the Catalina Classic Association invited Bob back at age 63 for a reprise. The race started from Two Harbors before sunup. Providing his escort boat, we stayed offshore as the paddlers stream passed, clad only in shorts against a chilly murk. The racers dwindled to occasionally 1 or 2. Then finally, out of the darkness on the Black Sea, dead last, Bob stroked by without a word. At the tail end of the pack, I nudged the throttle forward, and I thought, 32 miles to go. Oh boy. During the next 7 hours and 44 minutes, Bob methodically passed one by one the faltering younger crowd. He finished down there at the Manhattan Pier to blaring horns from a flotilla led by the Baywatch, cheering crowds on the pier and on the beach. He placed 7th out of 15th in the stock paddleboard race and 29th out of 41 finishers. Incredible. And for that he received a plaque, the Waterman's Waterman. When living in Hawaii, Bob built the second boat, starting from a bare 45-foot hull glassed in the Seattle area. In 2000, he and I sailed the second Discovery from Kona to her ancestral home, Puget Sound. To best characterize the 21-day voyage, we finished really short on water. The diesel was sucking on empty tanks, but we didn't even come close to finishing off the beer and wine. I frequently wonder, okay, what is he going to get me into next? Well, this is it. I have the privilege of introducing Bob Hogan, the ultimate Waterman's Waterman.
Loaded here? Well, thank you very much for all coming down for the ceremony today, and I can tell you right off that this is without a doubt the greatest honor of my entire life and of my surfing career, and I really am honored, and I would like to thank everybody that was responsible for my being here from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.